Coming up on Network Africa, more than 20 people killed in suspected jihadist attack in a village in Niger. 12 people sentenced to life imprisonment for killing Ghanaian soldier Major Maxwell Mahama in May 2017. Plus, the African National Congress Party in South Africa suspends former President Jacob Zuma. Hello and welcome to the program today. I'm Layo Olarinde. We begin in Niger. At least 22 people have been killed in a suspected jihadist attack in a village near the border with Mali. Local officials report that the attackers arrived in the Mortagata village in the Tillaberi region on motorbikes and started shooting people. It's not clear who is behind the attack, and the Niger junta is yet to comment about it. But such killings are common in the country, where jihadist insurgencies have risen since 2015. Nearly 40 soldiers were killed last year in separate attacks near the border with Burkina Faso. Military leaders who carried out last year's coup justified their actions, citing the poor security situation in the country. A court in Ghana has sentenced 12 people to life imprisonment after it found them guilty of killing an army officer. 7 years after the attack, the High Court in the capital Accra, which ruled on Monday, found the 12 guilty of counts of murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and abetment of murder. They are part of 14 suspects who were accused of lynching Major Maxwell Mahama in May 2017 in the Denkinia Obuasi area. The 2 other suspects were acquitted after the court found them not guilty. The 32-year-old major was on duty in the Denkinia Obuasi, located in the country's central region, when he was attacked by a mob over allegations that he was an armed robber. He was among soldiers that was deployed to that area to protect a local mine. The International Criminal Court says there are grounds to believe that Sudan's warring military factions are committing serious crimes in the Darfur region. ICC prosecutor Karim Khan told the UN Security Council that his office is collecting a very significant body of material, information and evidence indicating that Sudan's regular army and the paramilitary rapid support forces have committed genocide, war crimes, crimes against humanity, and the crime of aggression in Darfur.
The failure of the international community to execute the warrants that have been issued by independent judges of the ICC has invigorated the climate of impunity and the outbreak of violence that commenced in April and that continues today. And as conflicts flare up in other parts of the world, there is a real risk that many Darfuris fear that their plight, the situation in Darfur, will be the forgotten atrocity. If it does, it will be the second time the people of Darfur have been failed, humanity at large failed, and we must not collectively allow that to happen.
Since the beginning of the conflict in April 2023, different forms of conflict-related sexual violence, including rapes, gang rapes, abductions, sexual slavery and exploitation, trafficking, sometimes used as a tactic of war, have been reported in all conflict-affected areas, in particular in Khartoum, Al Jazeera, Darfur states, and the Kordofan regions. We call upon all parties to the conflict to immediately cease hostilities and to respect their obligations under international humanitarian law, including by refraining from targeting civilians' objects.
International law must be upheld at all times, and justice and accountability must be ensured for all violations. as the ongoing conflict in Sudan demonstrates once again accountability for past atrocities is an essential prerequisite for peace and stability.
The UN Secretary General says he's deeply concerned by the violence that occurred over the weekend in the Abyei administrative area, which killed at least 52 people, including a UN peacekeeper, and leaving 64 others wounded. According to spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, the UN chief also condemned attacks on the UN peacekeeping force UNISFA, during which 2 peacekeepers from Ghana and Pakistan lost their life in the line of duty. Deadly ethnic violence has been common in the region, where Twi Dinka tribal members from neighboring Warrap state are locked in a land dispute with Ngok Dinka from Abyei over the Anit area that's located at the Sudan and South Sudan border.
Turning to the situation in Abyei, I have a statement, and it tells you that the Secretary General is deeply concerned by the violence that occurred over the weekend in Abyei administrative area, which resulted in the tragic death of numerous civilians and attack on the UN peacekeeping force there, during which 2 of our peacekeepers lost their lives in the line of duty. The Secretary General conveys his deepest condolences to the government and people of Ghana and Pakistan, and to the families of the deceased civilians. He condemns the violence and attacks against the peacekeeping force and calls on the government of South Sudan and Sudan to swiftly investigate the attacks with the assistance of the peacekeeping force known as UNISFA, and to bring the perpetrators to justice. He reminds all parties that attacks on UN peacekeepers may constitute war crimes.
7.1 million people have been displaced in Sudan, internally displaced in Sudan since April. 1.5 million people have fled to neighboring countries around Sudan. More than 555,000 Darfuris have fled into Chad up to December of last year alone. Judicial orders and court judgments alone cannot solve the problem. It'd be wonderful if it could. It requires the Security Council, the whole of the United Nations family, the ICC, member states, the international community writ large, to not get overwhelmed by an intractable problem, but to come up with innovative solutions in order to address the catastrophe and also to prevent the contagion of violence from spreading even wider.
South Africa's former president Jacob Zuma has been suspended from the party he once led after refusing to vote for it and launching a rival organization. The governing African National Congress, ANC, announced its decision on Monday, with Secretary General Fikile Mbalula saying Mr. Zuma and others whose conduct is in conflict with ANC's values and principles will find themselves outside the party. The new party, Umkhonto weSizwe, meaning Spare of the Nation, was launched in December. It shares a name with the ANC's former armed wing Mr. Zuma once served in. Well, in a scathing letter, Mr. Zuma's former ANC bedfellows accuse him of debasing what they call the proud history of armed struggle against the apartheid regime through the opportunistic use of military symbolism. They also say the party only exists to erode the support base of the ANC. Well, joining us now on the program is our correspondent, Innocent Samosa, for more on this story. Hello, Innocent. Thank you for your time. What more can you tell us about the suspension of Mr. Zuma from the ANC?
Good afternoon to you and our viewers around the world. It's good to be in your company once again. Well, it seems as though it's the end of the road for former President Jacob Zuma. Him and the ANC, they are parting ways in that they have decided to essentially suspend former President Jacob Zuma. The NEC, which is the National Executive Committee of the African National Congress, the highest decision-making body between conferences, met over the weekend. And of course, they came out with this resolution to suspend him. You would recall that in last year in December, he launched this party, Umkhonto weSizwe, which we know that it is an arm of the African National Congress, which it's a wing of the African National Congress, which makes it even more confusing that they would form a party with something that was really formed to really stand with the African National Congress. So they took a decision to essentially suspend former President Jacob Zuma. He will, of course, be representing Umkhonto weSizwe in the 2024 general elections later this year.
And could this have an impact, on the political scene of the country, especially as South Africans will be going to the polls this year?
That this will have a major impact on the political scene in South Africa. But whether we like it or not, he is quite popular in KwaZulu-Natal province. He has support in that particular region. But responding to this yesterday, President Cyril Ramaphosa also mentioned that the NEC took this decision to suspend him after much deliberation. And he also mentioned that they're not feeling threatened. They believe that what he was doing, it was essentially counter-revolutionary act. But the question now is how much concern is the ANC with this Umkhonto weSizwe in KZN, particularly where we know, as I've just indicated, that he's quite popular. And it seems as though the ANC is not really moved. And Ramaphosa believes that the people still love the ANC. They are going to this election confident, not deterred by someone's popularity. But one thing is certain, that they have created a monster in former President Jacob Zuma. And I'm saying this because this is somebody who during the Gupta era, the state capture era, but also there is a posture that the party took when he was in prison, when he was incarcerated. There was a posture that the party took whereby it shielded him. They were trying to protect him. They bent their rules to essentially protect former President Jacob Zuma. So this is someone that the ANC has created, and now he's coming back. No wonder he says that he still remains in the ANC, but is not going to vote for the ANC. So that just goes to tell you that this is a man who's not scared of the leadership of the ANC or its integrity commission, for that matter. But I doubt, again, that it will have a major political scene, particularly in other provinces. I'm quite sure that in KZN, the ANC will be dealt a blow in that particular region because he is quite famous in KwaZulu-Natal. But again, the ANC is saying that they're not deterred. They're going into this election with confidence, with more zeal, and with prospects of seeing a brighter future for South Africa.
Yeah, even as we await, the election period, have we now gotten any reaction from Mr. Zuma himself on this latest development, and also his supporters? You've mentioned that, he has a very strong supporter base.
Well, we've not gotten any comment from Zuma or his supporters, but I doubt that he will challenge this suspension, given the fact that he vehemently indicated that he's not going to vote for the ANC. In fact, he said that he doesn't recognize the ANC of President Cyril Ramaphosa. So I doubt that he will challenge it. And I guess maybe him and his supporters, his advisors, they are regrouping to whether or not to respond to this or not. But I guess they will respond. The response really, I guess he will, welcome the ANC's decision, because he was in fact forcing the hand of the ANC to essentially dismiss him, because here's a man who says that I will not vote for the ANC, but I remain a member of the ANC. I'm voting for another party. He said that he's doing this because he wants to fix the ANC from outside, which is contrary to what the ANC believes. In a way, he is, acting against the party. One would wonder why it took so long for the ANC to essentially suspend him. But I guess because of his popularity and, the nature of a Kadai is, therefore, they felt that it's not a matter that they can just dismiss him like any other member, because here we're talking about a former statesman, we're talking about a former Secretary General, someone who has held, high powers in the African National Congress. So therefore, they had to deliberate on it and come out with a resolution. So they decided to really dismiss him. I don't know whether or not he will respond to this, and I doubt that he will challenge the suspension.
All right, then, Innocent Samosa, our correspondent in South Africa, thank you so much. Welcome back to the program. Dozens of journalists in South Africa have held a vigil for their counterparts that have been killed in Gaza during this ongoing war with Israel. According to the Committee to Protect Journalists, CPJ, at least 83 journalists and media workers have been killed since the fighting broke out last October. Organizers hung placards with pictures of journalists killed on fences and placing dummies representing corpses along with press bulletproof vests and helmets on the stairs of the St. George's Cathedral in Cape Town. Well, dozens of people also listened to speakers and audio tapes provided by Palestinian journalists and holding Palestinian flags, banners, and candles.
Every picture that tears your heart apart, a journalist brought that to you. Every picture that makes you want to stand up and say, I feel inspired. I will not leave this place of standing with Palestinians until they are free. A journalist brought those pictures to you.
I personally don't want to recognize them as fallen heroes, but rather as martyrs, whose stories, whose names will not be forgotten.
A British Nigerian Member of Parliament, Kate Osamoah, has been suspended from the Parliamentary Labour Party pending an investigation after she accused Israel of committing genocide on the eve of Holocaust Memorial Day. Ms. Osamoah, the MP for Edmonton, sparked controversy by claiming in her weekly newsletter that Gaza should be added to the list of recent genocides. Well, this statement came as she signed the Holocaust Education Trust commemoration book in Westminster, showing her support for Holocaust Memorial Day. The Board of Deputies, the Jewish Labour Movement, and the Holocaust Educational Trust reacted to her controversial remarks, leading to her suspension by the Chief Whip of the Parliamentary Labour Party. India's Navy has rescued 19 Pakistani nationals after Somali pirates captured their fishing vessel off the coast of Somalia. The Navy says 11 Somali pirates had boarded the Iranian-flagged fishing vessel Al Naim and taken all the crew members hostage. The rescue of the Pakistanis is the second anti-piracy operation carried out by the INS Sumitra within 36 hours. Hours earlier, they had rescued 17 people that had been taken hostage by Somali pirates on another Iranian-flagged fishing vessel in the Gulf of Aden. There are concerns about the surging attacks on vessels off Somalia's coast amid the recent wave of missile attacks by Houthi fighters in the Red Sea. To health matters now. Zimbabwe has launched a cholera vaccination campaign targeting more than 2 million people against the waterborne disease. The current outbreak, which began early last year, has been linked to more than 400 deaths and over 21,000 suspected infections. About half of the cases involve children. Well, the vaccination campaign is being done house to house, and it's in collaboration with the UN agencies, and is also targeting Zimbabweans that are aged 1 year or older. Health authorities are also giving priority to 26 districts considered to be the epicenters of the disease. Well, Southern Africa has been battling a cholera epidemic since early last year. The UN's humanitarian agency says the outbreak has resulted in over 188,000 infections and over 3,000 deaths, mainly in Zimbabwe, Mozambique and Zambia. In the meantime, a group of 13 Sudanese who had fled the war in Khartoum have been hospitalized following a cholera outbreak in northern Uganda's Adjumani district. Well, 4 of them are confirmed to have cholera. Officials now plan to track down the estimated 82 people who came in contact with them for follow-up testing. Uganda's latest wave of deadly cholera outbreaks began last July, and Sudan declared numerous cholera outbreaks from last September. Well, back here in Nigeria, the Lagos state government, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has commenced a fresh food fair at the newly constructed agro-produce hub at Idioro in Mushi area of Lagos state. Speaking during the fresh food fair, the state general manager of the Coconut Development Authority, Mr. Dapo Olakunleyin, says the initiative is to create an enabling environment and a good marketplace for farmers to sell their produce, as well as to address food insecurity in Lagos State.
December last year, the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, unveiled a food agro-hub sited in the Mushin area of Lagos, a place to purchase fresh food items. A month down the line, the one-stop marketplace for wet, dry and bulk purchase of food items is fully utilized by the people. And the state government has also introduced a fresh food fair at the middle-level agro-produce hub where farmers and traders can bring in their products.
Everything that is in this place is from the farmers in Lagos State, and you should be rest assured that it is organically produced and farmed here in Lagos State. Every Saturday, you can be rest assured that you're going to get all the produce you want to buy here. And we'll be having different products showcased in this place, from beans, rice, mushroom, vegetables, egg, meat, whatever you want to buy is here. And you are rest assured that you will buy it at an affordable price.
Those who have come to purchase 1 or 2 items at the Dioro Food Hub share their experience.
It is really fantastic. I enjoy all the things I bought. The prices are well subsidized. I love them all. It's really nice. It's a good initiative.
The state government assures the public of quality control at the modernized marketplace.
Under this fair, if as a Lagosian you buy anything using mobile account, you get 10% discount. That is it. If you buy something between 2,000 and 50,000, you get 10% discount. That is sort of empowerment to the citizens in general. What we are saying is that in terms of economy of Lagos State, we have created a enabling environment for our farmers to sell their produce. Eventually, it's good to the fair will translate to markets, where the marketers will now come in.
Every Saturday, residents of Lagos can make their way to the Food Agro Hub in Mushin to buy or order their farm fresh food items.
And finally, on the program, women in Kenya are asking the government to officially declare femicide a national emergency and to be recognized as a distinct crime separate from the general category of murder. This comes after the gruesome killing of one Rita Waeni, who was tragically found dismembered and hidden in a plastic bag in an Airbnb rental apartment. During a demonstration in Nairobi, thousands of protesters took to the streets in response to the alarming rise in murders of women in early January, raising concerns about gender-based violence in the country.
I'm here for myself as a woman. I'm here for all the women that were murdered. And I'm here so that something can happen. We are here to end femicide. We are here so the government can hear us and help us.
From 2016 to up to date, we have received cases of like over 500 women being killed, and the perpetrators are going free. So we are seeing even our government are neglecting us. And also, wacha kusema ati these girls are selling themselves. No, don't justify anything when you're doing wrong.
It's actually an issue that has already been existing, and I think it's about time we speak about it. This is the first ever work I've seen of such, and I hope there will be many more until the government really does something in prosecuting our killers, our murderers.
And that's it on the program for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Layo Olayinde.